Good morning and welcome to our regular board meeting. We are now going to have I'm going to call the meeting to order. And we have a quorum, just barely. Two of our members are out with illness in their family and one is on vacation, which happens. So here we are. So in any case, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance with Director John Frankel.
Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The media is present. See you back there. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay. Yes, we're going to vote. I'm trying to follow procedure. So now you should be able to vote.
I pressed it 3 times so far.
You know it when you see survey.
Okay, are we ready? Okay, so all have voted yes. There's 6. Do I have to?
You're the sixth.
I'm the 6th. So do I?
You don't vote.
I don't vote, but we still have enough.
We realize that Jules is out, we didn't realize he was not gonna be here.
Neither did I. So we're okay with that, all right. All right, approval of the minutes. We could approve both of the minutes at the same time. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve both the minutes of July 18th and July 20th.
Okay, second?
Second.
All those in favor? We have to vote.
Okay, we're both.
We apologize for the delays. At the rate we're going, we're going to try not to vote on anything today. Oh, here's another board member. Yay. Sorry. It's okay. We've only done the, approve the agenda and the minutes, so we haven't done anything critical yet.
I thought we cut her salary.
And her salary, and she has fewer days off. Okay, so is it done? All right, so the minutes have been approved. Okay.
There was a change in the minutes.
Is it, well, they've already been approved because you haven't been here, and if it was, was it in?
Just a change in the fees, for the rush on the rental policy. It wasn't recorded.
Okay, so are we okay? No?
Just that change needed to be made because we approved. I'm out of breath.
So it wasn't a change in context, was
Okay,
it?
we voted to change the
The rush
rush
fee
fee
to
from
100.
50 to 100.
Right.
But that's not in the lease policy on page 26 and 27. That's all I have to say. I did read these.
Okay, so we will note that change, and if we have to readdress this at our
Okay.
next meeting.
And I'm sorry.
Okay, so now we're going to have the very brief report of the chair. On Friday, we had our televised budget meeting. We worked really diligently with our board members and also with staff. Now our general manager ran away, so goodness knows. And the overall is that Third is going to have an increase of 0.8%. And when we add it to the increase with GRF, and I want you to know that we work very hard with GRF, having to convince them that we are homes with amenities and not amenities with homes. So the overall increase comes in at 1.4%. The budget was presented, and if anyone wants to view the budget or make any comments, it is available online. We do not vote to approve the budget until our next board meeting, okay? Another thing is that the election is coming up. On Tuesday, we have Meet the Candidates. We were advised, and this is interesting, because at this point in time, we have 4 candidates for 4 positions. So we said, oh, wow, we don't have to vote now, because you have 4 for 4. But according to the rules, and Brad could add anything he wants to here, even if there were only 3 people for the 4 positions, you still have to hold the election.
That's true. And apparently there's also, depending on your governing documents, I'll have to research this, but a write-in possibility as well. So I don't know that
I
we've-
didn't see, because I reviewed the governing
You didn't see that?
documents in Davis Sterling, so I didn't see that.
Good.
So all that aside, we're having our Meet the Candidates meeting, and it's going to be televised, but that's on Tuesday at 10 a.m. And also, there are various clubs and organizations that have candidate meetings. And a question came up as to what candidates can do and not do, because last year we got a bit of heat because we ran as a slate. The basic thing is according to Davis Sterling and also according to our bylaws, when you are the candidates can electioneer however they want, of course, as long as they're not offensive. The only thing that you're not allowed to do is you are not supposed to be handing flyers out at the polling place. Well, we don't have a polling place because it's a vote at home. So that would mean they can come into your living room when you're filling out the ballot, which of course wouldn't happen. So in technicality, candidates can go door to door. They could run newspaper ads, they could have flyers, they could have teas, they can go to meetings. It's basically up to the candidates. So I just wanted to be clear on that because we didn't want any misinformation out there. One other thing is that we talked at our budget meeting about the fact that we've really changed our focus with our legal counsel. And we actually changed our legal counsel because working very closely with our security chief and also with compliance, we've been made aware of some really not too good living situations in the community. That is like somebody is living in the community that's causing havoc or creating a nuisance to other residents. And thankfully, the residents bring it to our attention. And we had 3 really horrific cases going on. And we're happy to report that our legal counsel was able to resolve all of them without us going to court, which is a good thing. And also, probably in all of them, we will be able to get legal fees. And just because it really matters when we work so hard, I just won't mention the building number because it's sort of private. But this is from the building. They said, "We, the owners of the blank blank building, sincerely thank all of you for stepping up to the plate and addressing our issues. The building is quiet once again without various people yelling and really disturbing us. So thank you so much to the board." So I thank the board, but we also thank staff. We thank you, Brad, and we thank our legal counsel, and that was just one of them. And Bert said, "Could you please send us a note because we worked really hard on that." So I got 2 notes from the same building. So those are my remarks. And I will now send it over to, I guess it isn't going to be Marcy today, huh? All right. We're going to have an update from our VMS director. Could you please give your name and manner?
Dennis O'Connor, I am on the VMS board
for 2 years.
for 2 years.
Are you going to be on again?
If
You're
you-
thinking
if you
about it.
appoint me.
Okay, all right. Well, always put people on the spot.
Yeah.
Okay, please give us a report.
Yeah, I was on the I am on the VMS
Yes, and
board,
you're
and I
still
have
on.
been on the board
For
since
t-
the beginning.
Since the beginning,
Which
you're
were
right.
very interesting times, as you may recall. And I also have to say that the VMS board is the result of lobbying or influence of this board. There was some move to have direct management. The idea of an independent board, at least the initiative came from, I understand, this board. Am I correct? Yes.
Yes, it
so,
did.
So you're responsible for us, whether you like it or not.
Goodness.
You're also, some of you are also responsible for the major decision that was made with respect to the VMS board, and that is bringing His High and Mighty Brad Hudson into the fold. At least 2 members of this board were on that were on that selection committee, and there were other good candidates, but Brad has worked out very well. And one of the things that Brad did was he developed a strong management team. We don't appreciate it, but we never had anything like that before. Right now, we have people of consequence, experience, and professional standards managing construction and building maintenance and security, and Mr. Do-It-All over here, a technology effort. We have all of these people. We have a few holdovers as well. Work together as a strong team, and these directors that were appointed by Brad make regular presentations before the board, the VMS board. And they're interesting. You should come because we find out what's happening, and it's overwhelming. I mean, you could never even imagine these kinds of things happening in the past. I mean, this past month we had 2 of the directors come in, Chuck Holland and Ernesto Munoz. My God, what they're doing. I mean, you just cannot believe it. Chuck has all kinds of things on his agenda, not only doing this, but Gates, the television broadcasting, the antennas, the interesting tablet program that is in the very early stages. But, when VMS board started, we had, 5,000 unanswered calls. We had tens of thousands of unclosed orders in resident services. Tens of thousands. Brad has solved part of that problem by throwing a lot of money at it and a lot of people to try to resolve this people, but the ultimate strategy is to use technology, put people in the field with the technology, have automated contact with the people in the field. That's Chuck's project right now, and it's not an easy one. The VMS board in the initial stages said, we'll just send them out with tablets. And believe me, it's much more complicated than we ever imagined. And it probably take another year or so before that gets done. Am I right about a year, maybe?
Well, I think there'll be pieces of it that are done sooner. Yep.
60 days.
60 days, Chuck says. We'll have our leads, informants, and supervisors fully enabled out there.
But the workers themselves are a long way in the future.
Yeah, that's a ways out.
Yeah, that's a long ways out. But we're making progress at any rate. You know, we have gates going in, of course, the electronics in the gates. This guy over here, they make reports to us. It's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. And if you have time, you ought to come. I know you don't have time. You got budget meetings, and nobody meets more than the third board, I have a hunch. But Bert was at the last meeting where we had Ernesto, and Ernesto is also as busy as a bee. I mean, you just can't imagine the projects that are going on, and they're done professionally. I mean, we don't have some guy, you know, just worked his way up through the system. We have a professional engineer. We have consultants making sure the gates are going to get in right. It's easy to say we're going to have gates. Putting gates in is another challenge. It's a technology challenge. It's a construction challenge. And we now have the people who can do this. They work very, very hard. And Ernesto has a whole bunch of other things. As you know, we have, he was responsible for putting up the antennas. Chuck, once they got up, and Chuck took over, but he was responsible for that. He's taken on a new responsibility, actually initiative from the VMS board. The VMS board has been trying for a year to get a handyman program to offer to our residents. And we've been meeting on Ernesto and Brad and Lori to get it done. We're making progress on that. As you know, the other leisure worlds in California, or we used to be a leisure world, as you all know, they have these programs, and they're popular, and they have a fee, and they pay for themselves even with a surplus sometimes. So we're happy that we can offer people some services like putting in a light bulb, moving a piece of furniture, moving a plant, those kinds of things, in addition to minor repairs. In addition to that, it appears that the foundation will pay for people who can't afford this. So we're really pleased about that. A lot going on. We got good people doing it. Come along and get an earful. I don't know who we have up next. Probably Tim or Kurt or somebody like that. But doing a great job.
Actually, Brian.
It's been a pleasure serving.
Brian's next.
Brian's next.
Brian's
I mean,
next.
when did we ever have recreation events like we have now? We'll hear about that next time, right? Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
very much, Dennis, and thank you for doing such a good job. And once you get the handyman taken care of, we want some more things added, but Ernesto isn't ready yet because we promised our residents, they used to have a bunch of chargeable services, and we promised our residents that we were going to help them get those back. They were eliminated by previous boards, so starting with the handyman will be a great thing for people who are afraid to just call in anybody and not know, you know, who they are when they get there. You get a uniformed person, you feel really secure, so I think that that's great. I don't know, Brad said he was going to do a survey to see if people wanted it, and I said, well, that's like a waste of time. But that's up to him.
Well, it's not whether they want it or not, it's whether they'll pay for it.
Well, they know that they have to pay for it. They understand that. The thing is, but in any case, thank you very much, Dennis. All right, the next person up is our general manager, Brad Hudson.
Thank you,
And
Honorable.
you have a time limit.
I'm going to be very short today because I'm doing James' landscape presentation, so I'm going to take a little less time now. Anyway, Madam President, members of the board, members of the community, I certainly appreciate the opportunity to share a few details on what we're doing. Don't have to drive very far to see there's a lot of paving going on right now. Summer months is a time for paving. I know it's very inconvenient. I've been inconvenienced several times myself this last week or two, driving around in a little tiny half lane. So I know it's difficult. I appreciate your patience. We'll be done probably in another 2 weeks with the paving. We've got, it's really going on throughout the village, but also at the equestrian center, at the parking lot at Gate 12. I mean, there's just throughout the village. We're doing a lot of work. Towards the end of the month, we'll move our resources over to RV Lot B, and we'll be paving that. So, which I don't know when that was done last, but I think it's been quite some time. So getting that cleaned up, along with other things at the RV lots as part of our improvement of that program. There's also a lot of painting and roofing going on, so be mindful as you're out and about that there are a lot of workers right now, more than normal, and just be careful. We'll be starting on gates 8 and 9, doing a modest rehab of those, much like we did at gate 14 last year, and so that's in preparation for the gate arms and technology implementation at gates, let's see, 7, 8, 9, and 14 next year in 3rd, 1, 2, 3, 4, and United. So each one of those has to be individually engineered. They're all unique. The geometrics of the roadway, of the buildings, it's all unique and has to be custom designed for each installation. And so we are getting ready to go out to RFP for the engineering firm to design all the conduits. Some of the roads have to be realigned a little bit, all the electrical stuff, everything that goes into those gate arms, the cameras, and the technology to support them. And then we will, we've already have the contractor selected. Dwelling Live only allows a couple of contractors to work on their product. We've already selected one, California Gates, and so when the design's done, we'll negotiate a installation cost with California Gates, and then we'll begin. So looking forward to that effort.
Do you know when you say we'll begin, what will begin looks like?
It's hard to say. I haven't really got a strong project delivery for Ernesto yet. My hope would be, and you're only going to want to do 1 or 2 of these at a time, that you design 1 or 2, start construction, and then design a couple of more. So that's how I hope he's going to deliver it, and we'll be talking about that. I'm sure I'll have some influence over how he moves forward, but I had anticipated asking GRF for an early release on those funds to accommodate the design. So as soon as they adopt their budget, then I'll be asking for an early release of those resources to pay for the design.
So we adopt our budget in September. Do they adopt theirs in
Yes.
September? Okay, so then maybe you'll be able to tell us something at our next board meeting.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
It might probably be inappropriate to adopt the budget and ask for an early release on the same day, but what the heck, Anyway, so we're looking forward to that. I'll try to be brief here. Obviously, there's so much going on in 3rd right now. We're starting all these beam replacement projects, and we've got a whole list of things we're getting ready to do in Garden Villas. Lynn, thank you for the very kind email you sent last week. I really appreciate that. There's so much going on. We have a town hall Thursday at 4:30 in this very room with the very honorable Chuck Holland here talking. He's going to talk about technology, about our internet service, our cable TV, also our village television, formerly known as TV6, and an unveiling of what I think is just the most awesome website you've ever seen, probably that any HOA has ever seen, maybe anybody. It's really spectacular. So really proud of that work, and it's taken a long time, but I think the residents are really going to like that a lot. We're making a few changes. Yes?
How is this town hall publicized? I mean, I don't want to act like I'm an alien, but I don't even know about it. It's not on the Monday memo. And I mean, so if the board members don't know about it, how do the residents know? Maybe I just didn't read something. Did everybody know about this town hall?
Well, it's been in the e-blast 2 or 3 times.
Maybe we didn't read that.
And then it's been in the Globe.
Okay.
And then Chuck has been on TV. He did a
Oh,
whole
well.
TV show last week for like a half an hour. Couldn't talk about anything
I
else.
tuned it out.
So anyway, it's
Okay.
been out, but it
I-
should be on the Monday memo. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Aren't you also having a real estate meeting on Thursday?
That's tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
Tomorrow at 2.
tomorrow at 2. I thought it was
In
Thursday.
this very room.
How come we didn't know about that?
Well, there's been 2 emails sent to all boards. I received
No.
them.
I didn't
No,
see it.
no, I think we're having some cracks in the communication here. So because I actually have it down for Thursday, only because
Nope.
I heard you talking about it and I mixed the day up. So,
Nope, the technology is Thursday at 4:30 in this room, and the real estate is tomorrow at 2. And I know
And
I've
it-
received 2 reminder emails on the real estate meeting, right here.
okay, well, thank you.
Yep. And then the Plan a Ride is going to be taking over for the bus routes on Sunday and holidays. Now, that's, was at GRF Mobility last month, and they talked about that and approved it. And so there'll be an announcement going out on how to access transportation on holidays and Sundays. So the fixed routes will not be riding, and I believe that starts in September, but I don't have the exact date. But we'll be getting that out. We have actually people riding on buses, handling flyers to those that ride the bus about the new service on Sundays and holidays. So basically, if you want to catch a ride on those days, you just call transportation, and they will bring a nice van over, pick you up, and take you to your destination. I know we do a lot of,
Saturday remains the same.
Saturday remains the same.
So when you say call transportation, what number do they call?
I will get that for you. Anyway, so that.
Because it's not security, is it?
No, there's a transportation number that all the bus
Transportation.
riders are well aware of. They call all the
Okay,
time.
because I think that's important for people to jot that down.
Ah.
I believe the number is 949-597-4659.
There you go. Since she works in general services, I suspect she knows. Anyway, so that, we think that's going to be a big enhancement. Generally, ridership is on Saturday is about half of a weekday, and Sunday's half of a Saturday. And so it's really, the buses are really, really empty, and we think it'll be much more efficient and more suitable for our customers just to take them directly to their destination and pick them up when their business is concluded. So we're excited about that, and I think that's about all I have for today.
Okay. We recognize Speaker Bert Baum.
Thank you. One question about that. Have you noticed in the Plan a Ride, has it really increased ridership or more people taking advantage of that than would normally ride our buses?
I don't think we've done enough of it to know right now. I think this community is pretty focused on the fixed routes. Again, there's not a whole lot of ridership. Anyway, that's one of my biggest concerns. If the 300 people who currently ride the buses, if I knew that was the only customers I was ever going to have, I mean, we could Uber them all to their destination and back, or Uber-like service, every one of them, and there'd be no problem. But the problem arises when we provide a service that's that special, we won't have 300 riders anymore. We'll have 500 or 1,000 or 2,000.
10,000.
And then you'll be spending $10 million instead of $2.5 million. And so it's a delicate balance. And if you look at the Laguna Beach model, which I think is a really good one, where they provide some free rides, but also there's a small copay on some of that too, and it's all Uber-based, special program. So we're monitoring that very, very closely. They just started the program. I doubt that will go exactly that direction, but I think more demand response is much more efficient than empty buses on a fixed route driving around the community.
Rosemary,
Excuse me, you have to push the button, otherwise I'm going to.
Bert, that subject came up at the last Mobility and Vehicles Committee, GRF meeting. And ridership and utilization is something that the committee is, and really GRF is interested in, and they're going to change their reporting system and enhance it so that we will have some reports that show the ridership.
they're doing some really cool stuff. So I went down to Mother's for lunch the other day, and who do I see standing out in front of the building is Becky Jackson, our transportation coordinator. And just, I said, what are you doing? She said, well, we're doing a scavenger hunt. And so residents ride the bus and they go to these various destinations. And if they find certain things that are at that location, then they get a free juice or a free milkshake, or depending on where they're at. I'm sure it's not a milkshake at Mother's. It's probably a, spinach juice. But anyway, so, and again, it's all about getting people on the buses, trying to increase ridership. I mean, we haven't completely abandoned, and we're not going to abandon our fixed routes, but more people have to ride them. They have to go where people want to go, and we're probably going to have fewer hours of fixed route and more hours of demand response.
Okay, and is that it, Brad?
That is it.
If anyone has any questions for Brad, please press your request to speak button. Otherwise, Chuck is going to pull my hair out. And, okay, so we don't have any requests to speak. So thank you again, Brad. So now we are up to the open forum. This is the opportunity for our members to address the board regarding items that are not on the agenda. When you get up, please give your name and your manor number. And we don't answer the questions as you come up, but we note them down. And after the open forum questions are over, the board members will be able to address the issues.
Yes, whether or not they're a resident.
No, we got to vote on that this afternoon. Okay, so here is our first gentleman. Name and manor number, please.
Marvin Rawich, 5510 3B like Bravo. It's a technology issue, but it's not ours. It's others. And in the last decade, the use of mobile phones has become totally ubiquitous. Everybody's got them, even the older folks like me. And problem is, the signal we get from these vendors of the networks, including the major ones, is so poor, half the time we can't even use them. And that's been a chronic problem in the 16 years that we've been here. And I'm wondering should we consider talking to these various vendors of these mobile networks to take a look and see why we have so many dead spots. And it's just an issue whether or not they will put another tower in. Actually, when they do put another tower in, they pay some money for it, so that would be income to the GRF, I guess, or whoever. But I'd sure like to be able to use my mobile phone when I'm at home, and that's been a problem.
Thank you. Name and manor number, please.
Chris Collins, 3306Q. I'm here representing the foundation of Laguna Woods Village. Recently, the foundation of Laguna Woods Village was made aware of problems faced by those who are visually impaired. Consequently, we are embarking on 2 new endeavors to help village residents who are visually impaired. First, the foundation is starting a new partnership with the nearby Braille Institute. The Braille Institute offers one-on-one consultations, small group classes, and home visits, all designed to help people with low vision to live well. Within this framework, the foundation is starting a 1-year project which will help needier village residents to purchase magnifiers, canes, and specialized lighting. The way this will work is that the Braille Institute will apply to the foundation on behalf of Laguna Woods Village residents who are deemed financially needy for funding of needed items to help them live independently. All requests will be kept confidential and, of course, vetted by social services. Quarterly progress reports will assess the success of this new pilot project. In addition, the foundation recently purchased 5 new CD players and 25 new talking books listed on Amazon's bestseller list for the village library. The vision of the foundation is to continue to assist qualified village residents meet special needs. If you're aware of a need in the village, please contact us. You can do that online by going on to foundationoflagunawoodsvillage.org, or we have a phone, it's 949-268-2246. Thank you again for your generous ongoing support of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village.
Thank you, Chris. Your name and manor number, please.
Good morning. My name is Mary Ann Creter. I live at 5152 Despacio. It's in Gate 11. What I'm here today is to gain some information, and I'd like to get some feedback. About a year and a half ago, we had a plugged line going to the sewer, and our house is totally remodeled, and so all of the plumbing is new. But it was plugged, and it came from the outside drain, the outside of the house, out to the street. Again, this last Friday night, it plugged up again, and I had to call a plumber again, and he came out on Saturday and cleaned it out again. It appears that it's tree roots, that's where we have a problem. The tree in question is a carrot wood. It is probably 50 years old. And what I want to assure the board is that I'm not asking for any outlay of any money. I would be more than happy to pay to have the tree removed, to have it replaced with a tree that would be approved by whomever does that kind of approval. And I would put in a large tree so that it wouldn't just be a little sapling, it would be a big tree. But we really do seem to have a serious problem with the drainage from our house out to the street. A couple of years ago, the city came out and was doing something, and you can see where the city cut through the whole street and did some clearing. But it's a nasty plumbing challenge, and I don't know where to turn, and so that's why I came today. But I do want to assure you, I'm not asking for any expenditure. I'm more than happy to help you with solving the problem if I knew how to solve the problem. So I just don't know which way to go.
Thank you, and I'm sure that you came to the right place today.
I hope
So
I did.
when it's time to answer our residents, you will get help.
Thank you.
Probably from more than one person here.
Okay.
Thank you.
I very much appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. My name is Judith Huang at 2388 1E. I think I had the same problem with the lady here. Okay. There was a backup with the ground food from the garbage disposal. So one time fill the bathtub, and that matter half is solved. But the one thing is, it's still happening in last month when I came back from my trip in July. So that's, maybe I can talk to someone. That's because my location is 1E, so it's in the bottom and corner. So the back floor comes to my place first. So I pretty much had the same problem with the lady. And the same problem because my location, so I got the little animals dig up holes underneath the porch and the corner walls. I don't know if it's an issue or not, but I like to report. So if something come up, I have the picture so I can show someone, okay?
Probably our general manager will be over looking at it really soon, but
Okay.
you could bring your pictures up if you'd like.
So after the meeting, I have to wait until after the meeting?
No, you can give your pictures to our staff now.
Okay.
All right, and okay?
No,
Thank
now
you.
one more thing.
One more, okay. You still have 1 minute and 49 seconds.
Yes, I know. Okay, for us, the residents, we order, so we are getting keys quite a lot. And I know from my experience with other residents, lock the door with the key, so I have the keys to unlock. But there's residents, they share the experience. The security told them not to lock the key because it's safe here. That's what the information we receive.
Okay.
I don't agree, because if we don't lock the door, whose responsibility with someone coming there? So that's my concern.
Well, and I'm sure that our general manager will be able to answer that one too.
So that was a issue I bring it up to you right now, or?
Well, no, after everybody gets up, we'll tell you. So if you just wait a few minutes,
So I
okay?
want the picture now?
Yes, you could give your
Okay,
pictures
thank you.
give them to Lori. Anyone else? Good morning. Name and manor number, please.
Ed McGill, 23902C. I myself and Lynn Jarrett have reported the doorknobs on the fire door leading into the trash and garbage room are missing. The inside knob is missing. We've had 3 people since this was discovered in our building that have been trapped in there. When I say trapped, one, the husband was getting the mail, she was putting in the trash. She was in there for about a minute. He thought he lost her. We had a young lady last on the 5th or the 4th that got trapped in there also for about 2 minutes. One woman says it was 4 or 5 minutes, but a driver came in and let her out. It's a fire door. It closes. You can't get out because there's no knob on the inside. There's just a sharp piece of metal in there. The young girl cut her finger on it. So, in talking to the Orange County Fire Authority, I found out that they can't be replaced with doorknobs. They have to be replaced with a lever type, which we welcome. The buildings in the cul-de-sac 219, all garden villas, that do not have inside doorknobs, 2390, 91, 93, and 94 do not have inside doorknobs. Lynn reported it, as I said, but we thought that we were going to get doorknobs, but the fire authority said not. If we make a change on that, I would appreciate it. It's a very dangerous situation. And as the letter that or the email I got back from Lori and from Mr. Hartley and Mr. Brad Hudson, on the other matter of the recycling bins being put in with the garbage, there's great resistance in my building. I don't know about the others. I talked to 2 other building captains. They said it was not a favorable decision by any means. No one likes walking in there to a garbage room. The floor in ours is disgusting. I send an email out to the people that I just mentioned to come over and visit. We have to be a little bit more proactive in doing that. We had that proactive from the board when they went out, when we were getting the solar panels. They were out there every day on the roof, on the ground. But to get somebody to come out and see the problem seems to be very difficult, and it shouldn't be. Somebody should be able to assign somebody to come out, and then they can personally come back and let you know what the situation is. If they're going to clean and steam these, first you have to tell them that there seems to be a drain that everybody talks about in there.
Okay, your time is up, Ed. Well, I mean, if you have a few more words, you could say it, but not another, I can't have another 3 minutes, so.
No, I don't need another 3 minutes. I'm just saying that on that trash container situation, that we got a reply saying that they were done, it was effective because, as you talked to them, and they said that the bin doesn't come between the posts. The driver gets off, can't pull it out. There's a car parked there. But the truth is that over 80%, I'm quoting the supplier now, I'm talking about the garbage company, 80% of them are composite plastic bins that easily slide between. There's 8 inches, 7 inches, 3.5 on each side. They know that. But the ones we can't get out have to be moved, and the car's there. You're right, it's blocked. They can't get the bin out. So what I'm saying is, they even said, if they were all plastic, we wouldn't have this problem. So I'm saying again, if they were all plastic, I think there's another issue at play here.
Okay, and now, thank you. Your name and manor number,
Yes,
please.
my name is Bob Jacobs. My manor number is 5109 Miembro. That's in Gate 11. Our house backs up against a slope, pretty steep slope, about 45-degree slope. There are 3 really nice pepper trees on that slope. Last June, my wife and I took a short trip, and when we came back, 2 of those pepper trees had been very severely pruned. The third one was not. I should add that when we look out of our living room or we're on our patio, the pepper trees are right there. You know, they're part of our view, and we enjoy them. My wife called property management, got no answer, but fortunately, she had the personal number of Dennis Pratt, and she got a hold of him, and he sent Bob Merget out, who I understand is the arborist, and he took a look and agreed that it didn't look right to have 2 of the 3 trees pruned. And we asked him what happened. And he said, well, apparently the people that live up at the top of the slope wanted those 2 trees trimmed because it was affecting their view, and they were upset about it. So they came, I think, to the board and asked for permission to pay to have those 2 trees trimmed. And they got permission, and the trees were trimmed while we were out of town. Nobody asked us what we thought about it. Mr. Mergot looked at it, Merget, and he said, I agree with you. This does not look right, but the trees aren't due to be trimmed for another year. We said, well, it just isn't right that 2 of them are trimmed and the third one is not. And he was very kind about that and said, I'll tell you what, I'm not supposed to, but I'm going to send a crew out and we'll trim the 3rd tree and we'll have the tree trimmed. What I'm asking the board to consider as a result of our experience in regard to this is that if you're going to allow somebody, as far as I know, one family, to do something which affects the look of common area, you need to check with anyone else around who might have a problem with that or want to comment on it. Now, we didn't have any difficulty or quarrel with the people wanting those 2 trees trimmed. If somebody had asked us, we simply would have said, do the 3rd one too.
Right.
Okay, and that's our point. Please.
Very good. Thank you very
Please
much.
keep that in mind. Thank you very much.
Name and manor number, please. Excuse me. Name and manor number.
Yes, Lynn Corbeau, 3250.
Excuse me, what is the address?
32500.
Go ahead.
I guess that counts on my time. Anyway, I'm here to make 3 points about the current land use policy and the effects on Casa Rosa model owners. I'd asked you guys for a legal opinion on making an exception for the Casa Rosa model or for certain models based on the patio layout. And I got a legal opinion, but it didn't really address anything about, the differences for the patio layout for the Casa Rosa. The floor plan that is on the village website shows a nice rectangular patio that goes from one side to the other side. The condo plan shows the actual original slab, which has a common area on either side of it, which intersects right in the middle of the 2 sliding glass doors to the bedrooms in the rear. This makes it impossible to do any walls or have any cover that is feasible. It makes it very difficult for privacy and security for your rear bedrooms. And another point to make is that this is what's on the village website, and this has been the practice of this association for 40 years, is to transfer those common areas for patio alterations in order to provide some security and privacy. The legal opinion that was stated by Gottlieb is completely different from what is actually in the law. The legal opinion says it is not accessible or able to be used by other owners. What does the law say? The law says generally inaccessible and not of general use to the membership at large. The law allows reasonable circumstances. The Gottlieb opinion does not. This changes the meaning completely to something that is physically only, physical only. This requires 2/3 of the vote, yes, and the United bylaw, and 2/3 of the vote, all the votes, all the members. Recently, the United bylaw election got 30% yeses from all the members. 30%, and we're supposed to get 67%.
You have
2/3 yes
you have
is
30 seconds left.
2/3 yes is not feasible. Owner member signatures have to be notarized. That's in the legal opinion. On the votes, the signature has to be notarized. The 67% yes is applied to all members, not just return ballots. It's not feasible. You've left us with no option. So we owners of original slabs will now be deprived of our privacy and security
Okay,
and
your time
enjoyment.
is up, Lynn. Thank you. Okay, so there are no more member comments, so now it is up to the Board of Directors to respond to the issues. I think it seems that most of the issues will be addressed by Bert Moldow, who didn't request to speak because he knows that I was going to call on him. And then other issues would be addressed by people who are up to speak. So the first speaker up will be Brad Hudson. Brad, is there something that you want to address?
Well, probably all these things, actually, but first of all, maybe start off with the issue of the trash enclosures in the garden villas. Putting the recycle bins within the enclosure is the right place to put them. That's where they belong. We have repaired or rearranged the chutes there so they don't stick out into the room, so people won't hit their head on them. You're right, they haven't been cleaned for years, but now they're going to be cleaned twice a year, and the chutes have never been cleaned. And we have a program to clean the chutes now, so it shouldn't be dirty and disgusting when you open that door to throw your recyclables into a bin. We're not asking anyone to go inside there or stay in there at any length of time. Just throw your recyclables in the bin. It's clear now, and it'll be cleaned very shortly. So that's, in my view, never been done, so it's a great enhancement for the residents of those buildings. With respect to the hardware, that's actually the Hearst.
Sorry, isn't there also part of the program that they change the bins out? You know, like if a bin gets dirty.
Yes,
That's
part of the franchise agreement
Right,
with the
that's
city.
part of it, which is
Yes.
something else that we've been asking this, for 8 years I've been involved with the board, and they never did it. So they're going to change the bins out, they're going to clean the chutes, and they're going to clean the floors.
Yes.
And I don't know if they can clean the walls, but it's going
Yes,
to be
that's part of
clean.
it. That's part of it. And
Okay.
we're also, right now, repairing the drains. That's how we know they haven't been cleaned, because the drains are all filled up with sand and debris. And so,
So are you talking about the bottom part of the drain? You're not cleaning the drain all the way through, are you?
well, we have to clear the drain. Otherwise, you have to use an extraction device
Oh,
to
that's the-
clean it.
okay.
Yes. So,
And-
we may do that in some of those. Some of those may be clogged beyond repair. They haven't been used in probably decades.
Okay.
So that's going on. The first I've heard about the hardware, I just sent Ernesto an email. He'll get on that right away. We can't have residents trapped in a trash enclosure. That's not right. So anyway, yeah, we're moving forward with that. And with respect, I think Lori has talked to Judy about her sewer problem. We're going to take care of that. And then Mary Ann was over there, and we're going to chat with her as well and take a look at that tree, and then get back to Landscape Committee with recommendations. So I think that was a big issue.
And also Bob, his point was very well made. This is the one where, and it's landscape, where they pruned 2 trees and not the other one. And so that, everything that he said is something that we should do. So I have no idea. So I'm sure you'll look into.
Yeah, that's, you try to provide great customer service to somebody, and then you end up irritating someone else, and I think James will probably want to weigh in on that. But, anytime you go off cycle with the tree trimming, it seems to agitate as much as please residents.
But Bunny is always very involved in the tours and stuff, and I know that they're very careful what they do. So I have no idea as to what happened, Bob, and we apologize, but we're going to really pay attention to that, right?
I'll bring it up at the next landscape meeting.
All right, okay. So my screen went away, Chuck. Did you? Okay. No, I have to go according to the list. And the list now has Bert on it and then Bunny.
What about me?
I said Bert, that Bert. No, your name isn't on there. Did you
It is.
Did you? It is? It's not on mine? Oh, put it on again. All right, okay. So this Bert, then Bunny, and then that Bert.
I just wanted to make a couple of comments about the foundation and the Braille Institute. I think that's really good. I don't know if you're aware, there are other programs that you may be able to take advantage of it. One is called Reading for the Blind, and I've been a volunteer for that program for many years. And what they do actually is they tape or record in some fashion books and newspapers, and they give the people who need it a device for listening to it. So they can order various books, and they can get a daily newspaper read to them, including on Sunday, the ads. I never like to read the ads. So, and they have other programs, so you may want to contact them and take advantage of it. Mary Ann, who had the plugged line, I had a similar problem a few years ago, but I have to say the result was much different. They came out and they looked at our line and they realized what the problem was. There was a tree that was blocking it. In fact, we had trees growing up when they replaced our toilet, was coming up through the drain to our toilet. So they took the tree out immediately, and they replaced it with a tree that had shallower roots. So we have a palm tree there, and that we really enjoy. So I'm sure there is a way for them to resolve that problem, and I think you'll be satisfied. I'm really sorry that it took that long to really take care of it. That ends my comments.
Okay,
Thank
next.
you.
Thank you very much, Bert. Our next person up is Bunny.
I was going to comment on the same thing on landscaping. As soon as they find out that there is, as soon as they find out that there is a problem, that a tree is causing damage, there's no hesitation, to take that tree out. The only thing that the normal procedure, I know Brad said he was going to look into it, but the normal procedure is to send an email or to call resident services so that landscape is aware that there is a problem.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
I know, I didn't think you did, so anyway, and then back to Bob Jacobs. I thought that situation that you talked about was a little unusual for the landscape, because usually when a request is made, they also, the landscape committee, and not the landscape committee, but staff, also considers the neighbors. So I was surprised that that the rest of the neighbors were not aware of what was happening, except for the fact that you may have been on vacation. You know, but the normal procedure is to talk to the neighbors too, to find out what their opinion
No, well,
is.
that's a good-
Or if they approve, you know, that a change in the clipping of the trees. I think that's all.
All right, thank you, Bunny. I guess most of the time now is going to be turned over to Bert Moldow.
Won't be bad at all. Marvin, with regard to the mobile phone, since you have so many different vendors, it's a very unique problem. I have been made aware, actually, when we're looking at purchasing our streetlights, and SCE came back to us and said, well, we want to reserve the right, even if you're buying your lights, to put things on those poles that you're going to now own. And the reason they want to do that is that the phone companies actually have devices that they can put on the poles to enhance their performance throughout an area. So I don't know whether we're looking at that or whether we would also be considering that as a possible solution to enhancing telephone service. Judy, you know, my wife and I had this very similar problem with the line from the garbage disposal. The recommendation that was made, and we proceeded to follow through, is these garbage disposals, you don't know how old they are, and the blades may be worn.
Mine was brand new.
Because and it's still, okay, then they probably should scope that line to see if there is a problem, and we'll do something about that. Ed, your problems have been well taken care of by Brad. Bob, I'm glad you brought that subject up, and everybody says we're going to let landscaping know that they have to notify people. Architecture, when there's going to be something done in a neighborhood unit, sends out a neighbor awareness form to that neighbor in advance so that they know that something has been proposed. They can come and look at what the proposal is, okay, and make a comment. And I would think that landscape should basically follow through with the same idea, that they should set up a form, they should set up a hearing before they go ahead and do anything, okay? And is Lynn still here? Yeah. We learned later that notarization is not a requirement, so that's one thing. That issue that you raise is an issue that, you know, we've looked at over and over again. Our lawyer keeps coming back and telling us, you know, that they could not defend us in court, okay, if somebody would initiate a lawsuit about our giving away common area. And if it went to court, you know, and we did not follow the recommendation of our lawyer, we would be subject to huge, huge fines. So right now, it's a dilemma for us as well as you.
Has it ever happened in 40 years?
Excuse me, this is not a debate with the audience. I would say, excuse me, all right?
But I'll answer that. We have a potential lawsuit pending right now.
On this
Excuse,
So, it's, you know, the fact is that it has now happened. That has made us gun shy because of the cost of lawsuits.
May I comment?
is that it?
That's it.
May I comment on it?
Yes, certainly, because your name is up on there.
Bert, I think we've had problems with this legally before. This is not a new situation. And we are trying to do this in the best interest of the whole community. Because when we get involved in legal issues, it's very costly. And guess who pays the legal fees ultimately? It's the residents. And you want to keep your assessments reasonable, and we do too. So what we're trying to do is operate in a very efficient legal manner so we do not get involved in these situations and we don't put the whole mutual at risk.
Thank you very much, Bert. I have two small things. One of them is, this is to the foundation. in my short time when I was able to volunteer with the foundation, I had asked them to try to work on a program where residents who were in need, who had something wrong in their unit, wrong, I don't mean the handyman, but their toilet is leaking, their faucet is leaking, that they come up with a program that they try to identify them because and then work with our staff and fund to get it done. Because the thing is, and I don't know if what rate, if we have to come up with a more reasonable rate or whatever, but the important thing is if somebody is strapped financially and they can't fix their leaking toilet and they can't fix their leaking faucet, they were trying to work on a way that these people could go to resident services and we could try to figure out through the foundation and through our work to help them, because this is something that costs us money in the water bill and stuff. So I would hope, I know we were starting to work on it, and then, so if you could check that out, and I think that we would be happy to try to help you come up with a program for that. And the other thing is, and this has to do with, again, with the common area, we can't sit here and talk about how the lawyer's wrong on this and the lawyer's wrong on that and the lawyer's wrong on this. The basic thing is this is our identified legal counsel. We have gone through all of the paperwork. We've gone through who instituted certain number of the rules that we think that we could challenge. And basically, as Bert Baum has said, this has come up many times. It is not just now. And we're trying to say that the common area is owned by all of the residents. And it is not up to some of the residents to want to have it. And then all of the residents lose what they own, and they also we have to pay for the legal fees. So this is our position now. It is a position that we had to take, and we were advised to take it. That doesn't mean to say that a new law isn't going to come up, and there's going to be a way to change it, but that is our position now. Thank you. All right, next thing on the agenda is the consent calendar. So do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, we have 2 seconds. All right, so all those in favor of approving the consent calendar? Oh, well, you have to vote. Okay, so can you please vote? Their voting screen is up. Did we all vote on our screen?
I'm missing one vote. Director Soleil, can you vote again?
Okay.
Can you vote, please? Try it one more time.
It's gotta get smaller.
You want to give me your verbal vote and I'll do it here?
Okay, there you go.
It keeps the circle, comes out. Okay.
She, okay, are the results in? Okay, everyone has voted to, the motion passes. Okay, so now we're up to number 12 on our agenda, which is unfinished business. And the first item is the golf cart parking task force update, and that would be Annette.
Good morning. The Garden Villa Golf Cart Parking Task Force, the 5 task force members and 2 advisors have been selected. The first meeting is scheduled for this Friday. The initial research of every type of Garden Villa parking garage has been completed. Assessments of the issues and discussion will commence on Friday. That's it.
Thank you. Number 12B is entertain a motion to amend the third mutual committee assignments. There was just one change, and Bert, could you, it's the handout, because we had a little faux pas,
Okay.
like but,
For those of you who have the list of committees in front of you, there's only one change, and that's indicated in the bold type. and that's in the Laguna Woods Village traffic hearings. Jules Allen is now a member of that committee, and he replaces Annette Soul. And that is the only change. The rest of the assignments remain the same.
We do have a removal of a voting advisor because the person has resigned, and that's Roger Morris from the Architectural Standards. And we could accept that because it's somebody who is being removed because of, they asked for it. It isn't like we're switching anything.
Okay.
Okay, so those are the assignments. I very honestly didn't spend a lot of time on this. It was just one change we had to make because we're going to have our new board in October. So then then the assignments would be redone then. So I didn't think that we should spend a lot of time on this. So in any case, all those, so we have to have a vote on this. We have a motion. So we have a motion. You made the motion? I amended the motion by making one other little change. Could we have a motion now?
I move that we adopt a new committee roster with the amended as indicated.
Okay, so we have a second? All right, all those, please vote. I look at Chuck's. Oh, wow. That was fast. Thank you. Is that just an old one? You're just going to keep flicking that screen up?
I didn't even vote.
We didn't even vote.
We recorded a yes vote, sorry about that.
Oh, so should they all vote, or we don't want to be?
Has everybody voted yes?
All right.
No.
Well,
Can we get it?
can we do it with our hand? Yes, all those in favor? All right, because we don't want to be here all day. All right, thank you. All right, good. All right, so the next item on the list is the new business. So I'll return that over to you, Bert.
Thank you. This is a pretty long resolution. I'm not going to read the whole thing, just the more important sections of it. And what this resolution deals with is the ability now of the Third Mutual Board to suspend the cable and internet service for those residents in Third who are behind or are not paying assessments, fees, et cetera. And this is a right or a privilege that GRF had, and in the past, the board had to go to GRF and they had to have a hearing to sustain our vote on suspending the cables and internet. Now, with this resolution, we're able to do it directly. So I will read a couple of the paragraphs. Whereas the Golden Rain Foundation Corporation is an association formed to manage a common interest development under the Davis Sterling Common Interest Developing Act. I don't have to read the articles. Whereas the purpose of the Golden Rain Foundation Corporation is to develop and maintain facilities and services, operate community facilities, and operate as a common interest development in accordance with Davis Sterling Development Act. And whereas the Golden Rain Foundation has the power to adopt rules and regulations, including disciplinary procedures with regard to its mutual members and permitted and approved qualifying residents, co-occupants, tenants, and their guests. And whereas cable television services for the mutual members and the whole list, qualifying residents, co-occupants, and tenants and their guests are provided by way of a contract between the Golden Rain Foundation and a cable provider, master contract, and then a bulk service contract between Golden Rain Foundation Corporation and the housing mutuals. And whereas each of the housing mutual bylaws empowers their respective boards to manage and govern property, facilities, and services, including the adoption of policies and rules. Wherefore, the Board of Directors acknowledges that that cable television is a jointly administered amenity of both the Housing Mutuals and the Golden Rain Foundation. Now, therefore be it resolved, May 2nd, 2017, that the Board of Directors of the Golden Rain Foundation Corporation and the Board of Directors for each of the Housing Mutual each possesses the power to take disciplinary action against their respective mutual members, including but not limited to the suspension of cable and internet services, and resolve further this resolution cancels and supersedes Resolution 90-06110. I so move.
We have a second? Do we vote on this even though it's going to be postponed?
Yes.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Go ahead and vote on your screen, please.
But they're voting on the screen.
Could you try that time for us, please? Let me try for you. Anything?
It's effective.
Go ahead, go for it. Vote yes.
Okay, the motion passes. And, so, you know, lots of times it says on it postponed for 30 days because we're not quite sure, but this time, our next board meeting is 30 days, because sometimes it's 28, because our next board meeting is 9/19, so it'll be 30 days rather, will be by our next board meeting. Okay, so thank you very much, Bert. Now we have 13B.
Okay.
Do I need to make a motion to postpone the accepted resolution until the next meeting or not? No?
Well,
Okay.
really, we didn't have to vote on it.
Brad said we did,
Yeah, well.
so I listened to him.
Well, it's important to listen to Brad, but really, we made the motion and we're discussing it, and we can, now it's in the discussion phase, 30 days, and then we can vote on it in 30 days. But
Again.
Again,
Okay.
just to make everyone happy.
All right, so we're sure. But basically, there's no
No.
real change.
Right.
Why did it say May 2nd? Being that it's August.
It's wrong.
Look at, Brad is giving me a cross-eyed look. Why did it say May 2nd? Because it seems like
I think that's probably when it was
first,
brought
Yes.
forward, and
Okay,
we kicked it a
all
few
right.
times.
okay. I didn't want you to think we were lagging.
No.
All right, okay, so
Okay.
now we're up to 13B.
13B, whereas manor owners from time to time have requested to install an alteration on the roof of a 3-story building, and whereas the Architectural Control and Standards Committee recommends that procedures be established for all contractors working on 3-story buildings that contain mutual-owned solar panels on the roof, and therefore be it resolved on, it says September 19th, 2017, that will be 30 days, any proposed alteration to the roof of a 3-story building submitted to the Manor Alterations Division, which has mutual-owned solar panels installed, will require the contractor to supply site-specific structural calculations, wet-stamped by a licensed structural engineer, confirming the structural adequacy of the roof structure to support any additional imposed loads or roof penetrations proposed with the alteration. And resolve further, no alteration can obstruct the operations of the mutual-owned solar panels. And resolve further, no installation can accommodate access to the roof from the manor. And resolve further, contractors will be required to follow all state and federal laws and regulations to assure the safety of the contractors working on the roof of three-story buildings and are required to follow Cal OSHA rules and regulations. And resolve further, all contractors will need approval by the Manor Alterations Division before any construction can begin. Once approved by the Manor Alterations Division, the staff will assist the contractor in gaining access to the roof of the building and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move. We need someone to, well, we need someone to second. Okay, great.
So before we vote, though, we have this item is open for discussion. We don't want to rush the situation. So the first so this is where we would have speakers listed. Does anyone want to speak? Do you see your name on here? Well, obviously, the speaker thing isn't working. Annette and Bert Muldow would like to speak. So Annette, go ahead.
All right, in looking at this in the discussion, and I don't know if this is just a policy issue, but I'm definitely not an engineer, but if there could be like adhering a baseline threshold of under 1,000 pounds of the maximum amount of pounds, this way we could allow workmen, equipment, firemen, and hoses to be up there. I just don't ever want us to reach our max. I always want it to be like 1,000 pounds less than the max for those kinds of issues. That was my thought. I'm done.
It's a good thought. And we have 30 days to discuss it with our head. Okay, thank you. Yes, Bert?
Furthermore, in the third paragraph, therefore be it resolved on any proposed alteration to the roof of a three-story building submitted to the Manor Alteration Division, and then which has mutual-owned solar panels, will require the contractor to supply site-specific structural calculations, wet stamped by a licensed structural engineer, confirming the structural adequacy of the roof structure. My point here is that I don't see the purpose of the sentence, which has mutually owned solar panels installed. I think this should be a requirement for anybody that wants to put anything up on that roof.
Well, that's an excellent point, but if you remember, we were going to handle the solar roofs, and then you were going to come up with a whole thing for just the roofs, the three-story building roofs also. So this was, we wanted to, because of the pressing need of the solar roofs, we wanted to have this taken care of.
But wouldn't just even deleting that sentence do the same thing?
Well, we have 30 days, so we could review it and we could represent it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay? All right, yes? All right, so we don't have to vote on it. We're gonna vote on what? Because we've discussed it and we realize that it has to be revisited. So then we're not gonna vote on it, we have to present it the next time.
I think the way that we have this worded is you make a motion to put it on that agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yes.
that's, all right,
Yes,
so
that's
our
how we have it
motion
worded.
is to put it on the agenda with some modifications, correct?
Yes.
All right,
If necessary.
as necessary. Okay, so now they could vote. Do they have their little voting screen up? No, they don't. Some do. Okay.
Bunny, we need your vote.
You have to vote.
I pressed it.
don't believe them.
Pressed again.
Do it that quick.
You want to give me your verbal vote?
Okay. Okay, so now we are going to, that part is done, new business is done, so now we're going to have committee reports, all right? There are a few changes in the reports by committee because of the different members who are not here. So on, when we get to the report, when we get to the different area, we will give the new name of the person who's doing the report. But we're going to start with the report of the Finance Committee, and the report is, excuse me, gentlemen. The first report is going to be, the financial report is going to be given by Annette.
All right, the first thing I need is slide 1. There's no slides?
How could there not be slides? We always present the finance report with slides at the board meeting. This is so unkind because Annette never usually does this report.
Maybe what we could do is have Brad do his landscape report, and I'll go get the documents from.
Okay, that could work. Does that work for you, Annette?
Of course, that's very kind, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to really even change the order. We're going to go to the Landscape Committee report, and that report is going to be done by Bunny Carpenter, and then Brad is going to do a part of it. So go ahead, Bunny.
Okay, well, I thought maybe Brad would go first. Are we ready for that?
Okay.
For the
Look
Can
presentation?
you turn on your microphone?
Turn on your microphone.
Okay, I'm going to go first. So if you'd fire up the PowerPoint presentation, please.
Are we ready?
I think we are.
Okay,
I'm just waiting for it to come up on my screen. There it is.
all right.
There's a lot going on in landscaping right now. We've had a pretty rough 5 years or so with a lot of drought. We use a lot of reclaimed water in the village, which is very high in salt content, and without rain, it keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And so that's why over the last several years, your plants have looked pretty sucked up and really not healthy. And then this year, really got a lot of rain, leached all that salt out of the soil, and now we've got some good heat, so you're seeing probably the most rapid growth that we've seen in many, many years. And I get quite a bit of calls about that. It's really a problem for many of our residents and our landscape team to keep up with that. So today I want to talk about some of the challenges that we have in landscape, talk about our grounds maintenance and tree trimming schedules and processes, and then to kind of give you an idea of how we're going to get back on track and on top of this very, very rapid growth that we're experiencing right now and the staffing challenges we're facing. Next. There you go. So here we go. Well, let's talk about grounds maintenance first. We have 85 workers. Right now we have 5 vacancies to fill and 6 on FMLA or workman's comp. And we have 12 new employees since November. So we've had a bit of a turn in this division, as well as a number of folks who are either on workman's comp or off for some family medical leave that requires them to not be at work. So we're aggressively recruiting right now. I just talked to Mike Swingholm, one of our supervisors, and he says they've hired 5 in the last 2 weeks. So this report, I think, is a little bit older than that. So we've got additional bodies on board to staff up to handle. Really, this is our busiest time of year. We have to have the staffing right in the summer because that's when we're really working. And then what slowed us down a bit is some new OSHA requirements on slope maintenance. And so all the employees who do any work on slopes have to have fall protection training, which is not the biggest problem. They also have to use fall protection. So they're harnessed and strapped up every time they're working on the slopes, which is, makes it a much slower, costly process for our workers and our residents. Here we talked about this a little bit. A lot of high rainfall has impacted the amount of pruning that we're doing, particularly on slopes. The soil conditions, as I said earlier, are much better, and so you're seeing the rapid growth that we've had, particularly the last month or so, when it's really, really heated up. And interestingly enough, the humidity that you see in the mornings, usually this time of year when plants are super hot, they'll kind of constrict a little bit to try to conserve water. But we've had a lot of humidity, and so they're not holding back. They're growing like crazy. It's hot and humid, and they are not holding back a bit and growing very, very rapid. And so I think we got a little bit of a late start this year on some of our shrub and bed work, and so with the water, the improved soil conditions, the heat and humidity, when the plants just got way out in front of us. And so we have been working quite hard the last month or so to try to catch up. Here, this is kind of some examples, and you know, I hear from residents about a lot of things. Most of them not that pleasant. One of them, moisture intrusion. I get a lot of calls about that. The pipe damaged my manor, and I get a lot of calls about manor alterations, and I want a faster permit. And then I get a lot of calls about landscaping, and particularly when walkways like this become blocked, and residents have to walk between there and rub against the plants. That I get a lot of calls about that. But you can see here a lot of shrub growth. Again, and grass too. Here you go. That's a nice picture. And grass is growing fast and apparently everywhere. You can see at the top of that post, we got a little grass going. And we have a lot of kikuyu here, and that really grows fast and pretty much everywhere, and it's hard to keep in line. And then we've had some really rapid slope growth, and we actually probably, in my mind, spent too much time on slopes in the spring. The work was needed, but I think if we would have known how aggressive that the plants and shrubs were going to grow, we would have deployed those resources around manors more quickly and done maybe a little less of this. But we did do a lot of slope work this year. Here's some other challenges. Mary Ann's right there. I think she was complaining about a carrot wood. There's 3 or 4 species of trees that every resident hates here because they drop a lot of material. And carrot wood's one of those. Obviously, the ficus produces seeds and drops, and there are several others. And I've been out to many, many manors to look at the debris that some of these species drop on sidewalks and carports and patios. And we really have a policy of not excessively trimming or removing a species just because it drops a lot of material. So it's been difficult for some residents who maybe bought their manor in a time of year when there wasn't much on the ground, and then summer rolls around and they've got these seed pods and leaves everywhere, and it really drives them a little bit crazy. The other challenge is the fire authority has required us to do a lot of fire breaks along certain parts of the community, particularly in Third, almost exclusively in Third. And so we spent quite a bit of time out in that area. And then this has been an interesting one and kind of quiet. We haven't talked about it too much, but the AQMD changed their rules with respect to tub grinders and stationary diesel engines. And so our tub grinder, which makes all the mulch for our community, is out of service. It has been out of service for probably 8 months. And so we gathered a fairly nice mountain of material over there during that time. We still have plenty of mulch. And then we just recently contracted with a mobile grinder to come out and to grind all that up. But we're in the process of permitting and then acquiring a new tub grinder that will meet all the new state air quality rules, so we can continue to operate our, really, it's a world-class mulching operation that we have over there. It's very fine mulch, does a lot to conserve water in our community, and also keeps all that material at local landfills. So there's a lot to like about our mulching program. And then Edison has been working a lot in Gates. If you live in Gates 5 and 6, you've been putting up with that for some time. They're doing a lot of line work there and replacing vaults and doing different things. So you've probably seen them out there. I know I have, particularly kind of around the way to Clubhouse 4 there. I've seen a big project there. So hopefully that'll be over soon. Here you can see some of the debris from these trees. And then this is some of the fire break work that we were doing on the edge of the community, really west of our current location, and more work here that really we like to have our slopes pretty cleanly maintained with not 10 feet of growth on there, but maybe a foot or two. And so we're really going through and removing, you can see this bottom picture here, a lot of kind of aged acacia. That's kind of a plant material that was used 30 or 40 years ago on slopes. That kind of acacia is not really used anymore. It just gets too big and too woody. It harbors coyotes and vectors, and so we just really don't want to have that kind of slope growth. We really want to have something neater, trimmed lower, that doesn't present a fire hazard, that doesn't provide habitat for critters. We'd prefer not have too many around, like coyotes. A few goes a long way. And then it's really, I think this is pretty unsightly in my view. And so I think we're going with lower growing, easier to maintain species that are more fire retardant. And here's a kind of example of some of the Edison work. This looks like the very spot I was looking at the other day. You can see that that creates a bit of a mess on the landscaping. And so when they're completed, we'll come in here and straighten that up. And we work cooperatively with them, so it should be fairly seamless, but still it takes a while for an area like this to recover, and it requires extra attention.
Excuse me, Brad.
Yeah.
Is that in Third or United, that photo, do you know?
Go back. I think that's in Third. I think that's the Gate 5-6 area, I'm thinking. Yeah, it is. It's Third.
Oh, okay.
And here, this is
Brad, just in relation to that, they're now going to put in new recycled water.
Yes,
Is
that's
that going to create some difficulty too?
Oh, yeah, that's going to create some inconvenience for residents, particularly in the Gate 9 area. That's where the next reclaimed water project is going. They think that's going to start sometime this fall and probably take 6 to 9 months to complete, at which time there'll be reclaimed water for landscape irrigation in that area. I think sometime after they start that job, they're going to be in the 5-6 area, Gate 5-6 area, but in United. But nonetheless, that will disrupt Third residents quite a bit as they try to move between those two gates. So it's mainly, really almost all the United area within Gate 5 is where they're putting the second phase of this project. So El Toro Water District, many of you were here last time they did a project, and they're pretty good about managing that. We're going to do better this time. We've learned a lot from the last experience. Ernesto is somewhat of an expert on maintaining traffic flows during construction as a public works director. That's maybe job one. And so I anticipate that you'll see the traffic controls be much better and much tighter. And also the replacement roadways that El Toro will be required to build are going to be a little more substantial probably than the last time, where they really just, filled and packed trenches and capped it. We're really going to tear a road apart like that. A half width is kind of a minimum. So that's where we're at. So this looks like a pretty poor SCE repair, and so we will likely come back and fix this to our standard, which apparently is quite a bit higher than Edison's. And so I want to talk a little bit about the kind of scope of service schedule, that sort of thing, so residents have a sense of when and what to expect as the year moves on. So on kind of mowing and trimming and sidewalk cleaning and all that, in the colder months, every 2 or 3 weeks, we roll through. Grass isn't growing so much. We can focus on some other things like slopes, like other activities that are hard to get to during the fast-growing months. Warmer months, 9 to 12 days, and the 3 or 4 months in the summer, we really have to get by every week, or the load, the volume of material that has to be hauled out is overwhelming. And so the frequency is very, very important. I would say we've had difficulty this year keeping up with that kind of a schedule. That's where we're headed, though. And then shrub beds and slopes, again, October to May, 2 to 3 cycles, and then May to October, 3 cycles. So best case, we'll get through your cul-de-sac 6 times a year to do this kind of work, the pruning, the raking, edging, mulch, replanting, those sorts of things. And then trees, we're changing our tree program fairly substantially, but it hasn't changed yet. And so right now, we really get by. It's about a 3-year schedule, a little less, which is, in my view, very robust. I've managed 2 urban forests of well over 100,000 trees each, and we never got through them every 3 years. I mean, it was more like 5 years. Now, that's a municipal setting, a little bit different. So I think every 3 years is pretty aggressive, and for some species, probably unnecessary. And so that's why we purchased the Arbor Pro software. All our trees have been cataloged, and all their data is on there. We're going to actually make that available to residents through our website. So that'll be, if you're interested in the tree in your yard, you can go on a little map on our website and click on it. It'll tell you, when it was last trimmed, any diseases or other problems it has. But we're going to start trimming by species instead of by geography. Right now, we come through your cul-de-sac, and if there's a tree there, we're going to trim it. That's really not the best way to do it. Yes, Bert.
I think it's important to also note that at the request of the Electric Committee, the Energy Committee, I believe Landscape is now putting in a special program to go around and trim the trees that are blocking the streetlights, because that's been a terrible situation, that these trees are just absolutely cutting down on the light that's there.
That in a sort of a municipal environment, yes, the trees get trimmed every 5 years, but if a tree's blocking one of your streetlights, you go through every year and clear that away to make sure that pedestrian and vehicular safety is maintained. Absolutely.
Brad, one of the things they're going to have to do now, though, is we're doing this program of new building numbers, and some of them, or one of them, is up right behind a tree and you can't see it at all. So that has to be looked at also. So not only, the light is, of course, a safety issue, but to invest the money into the building numbers, we have to make sure that a tree isn't blocking them. So that has to go on their schedule. So do you think that changing the tree maintenance schedule to trim by species will save us money, so that we will be able to then have money to prune better, or remove weeds better, or just do better work? And when do you think we'll be able to notice that?
I think it'll be a while before we can tell. There is a certain amount of efficiency in the geographical method. It's kind of like blowing out carports, with a blower and 10 guys and blowing it out in the middle of the street and then picking up in the street sweeper. It's incredibly efficient. Now, it irritates the heck out of residents when their cars are all dusty and they have to listen to that. And so I think this is a similar thing. It's not going to be as efficient, you know, because we're going to be moving people around more, it'd be more time in cars, you know, identifying the location of various species, using Arbor Pro, and then going out and giving it the proper treatment. But I think the overall health of the forest will be improved, and I think some species will be trimmed less than they are now, and perhaps those savings can be put into things like trimming around light poles and things like that on a more regular basis that we haven't done in the past. But time will tell how that works out for us. So here's our action plan here. We got to get all these positions filled. Right now, we have probably, last I checked, we had about 11 or 12 vacancies. I know they filled a few. We also have a lot of folks who are out on various types of leave, and so we need to be able to bring in temporary workers or work overtime to fill that up when that happens. Most of these folks are off without pay. We don't carry large leave balances here that would allow somebody to be off months and months. We lost our presentation here. With pay. I mean, basically, if somebody's off for a long time here, they're without pay. So we have the resources, we could come in and do that. And you're seeing that right now. We're bringing in weekend landscape crews to handle basically service tickets. They're so busy during the week just trying to keep up with their regular schedule that we're handling resident requests. We handle them during the week too, but we're trying to handle the bulk of them on the weekend with a crew that's only dealing with resident requests, and a couple of crews actually. So that's, if you've seen landscapers on the weekend and you never saw them before except during a storm, that's what's going on there. Again, on tree maintenance, I think go to trimming by species, and then also we need to have an off-schedule team. It's great to have a schedule and a program and all that, but things happen, and residents have a lot of problems, and you don't want to disrupt your regularly scheduled team to address, you know, these one-offs. For example, like Mary Ann, if we're gonna remove that tree, you know, I don't want to, you know, stop everybody else from what they're doing, and I want to have a crew just to do that. And so I think that will help quite a bit, and perhaps if we do see some of the savings that Rosemary was talking about, this is a place to direct it as well to a team that could address resident concerns. And then the other last thing is better communication with our residents. They're really used to, oh, they're in the cul-de-sac trimming, I'm going to go park down the road for the next 2 or 3 days till they get out of here. And so with this new program, depending on the kinds of trees you have in your cul-de-sac, we may be there more frequently, but not as long. And so actually, I think maybe residents will appreciate that better, because when we're in a cul-de-sac, we're there all in with a lot of equipment, a lot of people. This will be not as intensive, but more frequently. So that'll take some explaining to residents as well. And I think that is about it. And I'd answer any questions you have.
We have, could we have that screen up where people could request to speak? I don't see anybody's name.
Oh, well, I need to
Go ahead and request to speak now.
Okay, so, all right, so we have Bert Baum who has requested to speak. Bunny, could you do your request to speak thing?
Okay.
No, you have to.
Oh, I pressed, my screen's not
So-
working.
Okay, so we have Bert wants to speak, John Frankel, and Bunny.
Brad, that was a really interesting presentation, thank you. A lot of residents have asked me this, I'm not sure what the answer is, but you mentioned like a tree maintenance crew. Do we actually have a force divided into crews? And are they, is this a permanent setup, so that's all they do?
Yeah, I think right now they have it, we have some crews and we have schedules. And they just march down the road on a geographic basis and go from cul-de-sac to cul-de-sac. And it takes them on average 32 to 34 months to get back where they started.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the next person who wants to speak is John. You had your name up, and then Bunny.
I discussed the optimization of the tree trimming cycle with Maggie, and now that the census has been completed on ArborPro, it'll be another 2 or 3 months before ArborPro can be brought up to speed in terms of the tool that they have within the program, but we will be able to optimize the program on a census basis, tree census basis.
No, I think it's a much better approach.
Okay, Bunny.
Okay, I just might note here that I think the figure is about we have to trim around 1,000 trees a year. So when you think about that, it wasn't that stated, Susie,
No.
about 1,000 a year? No?
1,000 a
1,000
month.
Okay.
Yeah, we have
I know
about
it was some
35,000 trees here,
astronomical number.
33 something.
Yes, 34 plus.
Yeah, and the other thing that I wanted to note was that there will be some changes in the breezeways. They're going to replace the green carpet with a cement. And so the resolution, for plants will have to be updated. So we've just formed a small task force, and we will be updating the resolution, which will determine how many plants will be allowed by each residence.
I just had one thing, and that is, there's still some hole between residents, landscape, resident services, and reality. Because in the past, if we would walk outside, people would hound us with my stairs are broken, or this is done, or that is done. And now we have had, M&C seems to be getting to be less and less, and landscape is still tremendous. So there is some challenge. I mean, I just said, and I don't know, is it because people don't call resident services for landscape issues, and they should, or if they call them, I don't know what happens, but it's just still, and this is a big issue because you're in your office pulling your hair out, but it needs more than what we're throwing at it, and I don't know what it is, so there might be some hole in there, I have no idea. Maybe when they call in, I don't know, what do the people say? How does it get transmitted from the phone to the crew? I don't know, so.
It's a little bit different system. Residents, many of them contact employees in the field to get things handled. And I think that's probably not the most efficient way to do it. I mean, if you need something quick, that's fine. But really to call resident services, and then they will send, and we actually have, our pilot program for our in-field technology is with the landscape supervisors. So all the supervisors are mobile enabled in the field, and so we can send work orders to them. They can order their nursery materials, from a job site instead of electronically. There's a lot of things that are going on there. And most of the residents who have landscape issues that I've talked to are very familiar with the supervisor for their area. They know who that is, and they have their phone number, and they contact them directly. Again, that's probably not the best way either, but it does work. You will
I
get a
know,
result.
but maybe we have to do a campaign.
Yes,
on
I think
how
so.
to get better service for all, and to call resident services. And if people, I think probably people stopped calling resident services or for this, or went to the people because they weren't getting the results. So I think, but it just has to, there's something wrong with it. So if you can get some kind of, how you want to have it organized and get a campaign going, and communicating it would probably be a good thing. Bert Moldau is next.
just like to make a request that if the landscape committee is looking at limiting the number of plants that go on the breezeways in the garden villas, that they also include a limitation with regard to the height and location, so that these plants do not block the breezeway lighting, which is a very common thing right now, is that these plants get too tall, they block the light where they're placed. So I think somehow or other restriction on location,
Are those resident plants or our plants?
resident plants
Wow,
as well. Yeah.
okay. All right, and Brooke Baum had a question.
Yeah, well, I think this point about if you have a problem, who do you go to is really important. I think if you look in the new breeze that's coming out, Lynn actually had a little note in there about that, where we tell residents, if you have a problem, get in touch with resident services first. And then if you continue to have a problem, you can try to go up the ladder. But I think what we've been doing now is just to try and resolve all these problems is we're telling Lori to handle it. Or Catherine Laster. Well, that should not be their function, really. It should flow through resident services, and we're going to try to emphasize that. Brad has a lot of responsibility, and to have people with problems bombard him all the time is not fair. It's not fair to him, and it's not the way the system should work.
Yeah, I was out at 7:30 this morning with Mike Swingholm at a manor, looking at, and the lady wrote me a very long email, a couple of pages of her observations. And one of them was, and I agree with this, if you're at a gatehouse or a clubhouse or along a main road, things look pretty doggone good. And then, but you get back in these tucked in areas, out of sight, out of mind sort of areas, and if there's a definite diminishment in the quality of the landscaping, and that's what she was pointing out. And so, and I've noticed that myself because I wander around to the seldom traveled corners of our community, and she's right. That does happen, and so a lot of it is training with the supervisors. Hey, don't just stay in your truck and drive on the main road. You got to get out of there and back in behind these manors in these kind of out of the way places, and supervise the work that happens there. And so a lot of times we only know about those things if residents let us know that, hey, there's a little nook and cranny back here you've been missing for like 5 years. Can you please come and take care of it? So I wouldn't want to tell residents, the best thing to do is to report something like that right to resident services. Here's the manor number. Here's what I see. Can you send a landscape supervisor out to take care of it? And we'll do that through resident services. That's the best way.
Yeah, but on the other side is if by the time a resident comes to a director, I'm not going to tell them to contact resident services.
No, I
because
think we're
most-
beyond it at that point.
Then you're beyond it. I think that would be an insult. So
Yeah.
I would just tell them to call Bert. Bert or Bert, no, or Brad.
Look, I just want to comment on that. If it is an ongoing, really sticky problem, and you can't resolve it, and you want to try and get some help, I think then it's appropriate to go to a board member. Unfortunately, I get phone calls from people whose toilet is running, who've never contacted resident services, and I don't think we should encourage that.
That's pretty common. I get a lot of that myself. I would prefer to solve system problems, that residents are feeling.
Sorry, Susie, and then we have to move on. So go ahead, Susie.
I'd just like to suggest that you can come to a committee meeting. At the landscape committee meeting last time, we had 12 residents come and talk with us about some of their issues. And we handled some of them directly and actually went out to their manner their concerns, and we're able to fix a few of their problems that way as well. So I encourage you to come to the meeting if you really are in a hurry or haven't gotten the response you need.
And when is the landscape meeting?
It's usually the first Thursday of every month.
At 9 o'clock in the Sycamore Room usually, right?
Pardon?
In the Sycamore Room. Yes.
Press my button here. That'll help.
It's usually.
Yes, in the
okay.
Sycamore Room.
Okay, so
Yes.
please remember to come. Thank you. Okay, so, very good. Excuse me?
The landscape committee meets next September 21st.
No, excuse me. The, on the agenda, number 21, the meetings that are listed are all of the GRF meetings, not our meetings. We don't have our meetings listed, which is a good idea. We'll have to try that one too. I mean, and Leslie actually did this new thing for the GRF meetings, which is fabulous, so maybe she should start it for ours too. Then we won't have to be mentioning it, so more work for you, Leslie, but see, you do a good job and it grows. So thank you, Susie. Okay, so now we're going to go back to doing this. Bunny, do you have any landscape comments to make, or did we talk about landscape enough? All right, so we're done. So are we ready now? And thank you very much for that excellent presentation, Brad. Are we ready now to do the Finance Committee meeting? Okay, Annette, it's yours again.
Okay, I need to bring up slide 1, the treasurer's report. This is the treasurer's report as of June 30th, 2017. This is the income statement. And the total revenue for 3rd through June 30th, 2017 was $16,655,000 compared to expenses of $12,732,000, resulting in more revenue than expenses by $3,923,000. Slide 2, please. Slide 2, this is the operating income statement. Now we look at those same results with a distinction between operating and funds. This chart shows how much of our revenue went into operations, with $9,204,000 coming in from assessments and $562,000 coming from other sources such as resident violations and insurance reimbursements. This is compared to operating expenditures of $9,327,000. After backing out depreciation, which is not funded through operations, we can see that the bottom line we had. And, oh, I apologize. We had an operating surplus of $516,000 as of the reporting period. Slide 3, please. This is the funds income statement. This chart shows how much of our revenue went into our reserve funds and the amount expended to date. All right. So the net revenue is $3,483,000 for the funds income statement. Next slide, please. All right, slide 4, the treasurer's report. This is with a favorable bottom line of $3,923,000 compared to a budget of $1,468,000. Third was better than budget by $2,455,000, primarily due to the timing of reserve programs. Basically, the building structure contract was awarded on July 18th. You can go back to the other slide, please. The building structure contract was awarded on July 18th. Work is scheduled to begin in August. The initial phase of the construction will begin in August of 2017. The waste line replacement work is currently in progress. However, invoices were incorrectly submitted and returned to the vendor for correction. The roofing program is currently in progress. The budget is distributed evenly throughout 2017. However, work did not start until May. And paving program is currently in progress. The budget is distributed evenly through 2017. However, work did not commence until June. For slide 5, please. the total operating expenses. On this pie chart, we show the operating expenses to date of $9.3 million by category, showing that our largest categories of expenses are for compensation and utilities. Slide 6, please. This is the fund balances. The reserve balances on June 30th, 2017 were just over $27.7 million. To-date contributions to our reserves, including assessments and interest earnings, totaled just under $6.9 million, while expenditures to date totaled $3.4 million. As mentioned previously, much of the increase is due to timing. The reserve program expenditures are anticipated later in the year. Now, there's no slide for the following. In closed session, we reviewed delinquencies for unpaid assessments totaling $337,402, which represents about 1% of the annual assessment budget. We are able to maintain such a relatively low level of delinquencies by following prescribed collection policies to pursue payment on these accounts, either through the non-judicial foreclosure process or by obtaining personal judgments in small claims court. The board has been working closely with our collection firm and legal counsel to pursue further collection activities for unpaid accounts. And the good news about that is projected in 2018, there's a $49,000 decrease, which amounts to 32% for uncollectible accounts. We have recently concluded our budget review process, and the proposed 2018 business plan resolutions will be on our agenda for approval in September. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annette. So the next person up is Bert Moldow, and he's going to be reporting on architectural standards.
Okay.
Oh,
Wait,
I apologize. I did not go into the monthly resale report.
Oh.
If I may?
Sure.
go right ahead.
I apologize. And this is prepared by the Community Services Department, and this is for all mutuals. The total was $181,882,000, and the monthly average is $25,983,000 to date. And for the third, which is actually page 11 of 16 of Agenda Item 14A, the total sales volume for 2017 so far is $109,943,000. The monthly average for third is $15,706,000, and the year-to-date change is an increase of 13%. And our average resale price to date has increased 13.5%. The average resale price for third is $387,075. Thank you.
Okay.
And in here, they also include a report over years, 2017, 16, 15. So we really show an improvement year over year. So it's an interesting number that we asked staff for, and that's on page 16 of 16. I'm not going to ask you to read the whole thing, so thank you. Okay, so Bert, it's yours now.
Back again, how about that? Okay, with architecture, as we usually do, we reviewed the requests for alterations, and one of the things that we did we submitted those for the consent calendar today, and the consent calendar was approved. In addition, we spent some time looking at the need for a notification to neighbors where alterations are being approved and where they're being made, so that neighbors are well aware of what's happening and what's going to happen, and we give them an opportunity to come before the committee before the final approval in order to give us their comments, hopefully approval, but if they have an objection, we listen to that objection, and if we find that objection has good validity, we will take it into consideration. We have, in that neighborhood awareness form, by the way, one of the things that we are doing is we're letting the neighbor also know what their responsibilities are, okay? And the fact that, you know, they should let us know if the contractor is violating the rules of the community. I mean, if the contractor is putting trash or his trash within our dumpsters, we're going to pay a strict penalty from the dump company if that happens. And so we're asking neighbors to be alert to that fact and let us know. And this form gives them a telephone number to call so that we can track that. So they see any other violation. For instance, if there's an alteration or going on, we are requiring that a permit be displayed in the front of the building or in the front of the door so that we know that that is a recognized legitimate alteration. So we ask those people, when they do get notice that an alteration is being worked on, that they also basically track it, let us know. If they see, for instance, hours, the work hours, if they're violating the work hours, we want to know that. Okay, and this is for the benefit of the neighbors as a whole. We, you know.
I'm sorry. Aren't you doing two things? There's a neighbor awareness form, and then there's a neighbor
Neighbor
notification
notification
form.
form.
So they're
Yeah.
two different things.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right. The other thing that we worked on was the decision tree. This is something that really does not require a vote by the board. What this is basically is a courtesy to the community. The decision tree is a procedure that is used by staff and by the committee in order to make determination as to the validity of the alteration request and whether or not it's to be accepted or rejected. But what we're doing is we're going to put this decision tree matrix up on the website when it is completed. And we've just got a little bit more work that we have to do. And hopefully within about the next month, this decision tree, which is basically the step-by-step procedure that is employed by the employees and by the committee, that we go through in order to make a determination as to whether or not to accept or reject the application. We also asked staff the last time to see if they could get us the listing of the cost of permits from the city, which they did. And we looked at it and we saw some prices that we said are really exceptionally high. And we asked staff if they would sit down, take a look at these costs, and give us their recommendations as to whether or not they're excessively high or not, in which case we can go back to the city and raise questions with regard to that. And that is basically the report.
Okay. So now you want to report
The-
on the maintenance and
Whoops.
construction? Oh,
Next meeting of the committee is September the 7th, okay? And that's coming up pretty soon. Anyway, and at that meeting, we do also then, after the meeting, take the bus tour to again take a look at the alterations that have been requested by people.
Okay. So the next report is maintenance and construction.
Oh.
And you had no meeting last month, right?
Yes, maintenance and construction did not meet last month, although I do have some news with regard to addresses. We have these pilot program going with address signs that are 8 inches in high. And we're working with staff now, talking to them about the location of these addresses. We've informed them that just putting addresses up on buildings is not necessarily a good solution. There are a number of buildings where you really want to have the address at the cul-de-sac entry, and where a car, streetlights at night would light up the address and make it easier for the person to know that that building is within that cul-de-sac. So that is being done. In addition, we've gone ahead and approved the painting of curbs to indicate the cul-de-sac, or the house numbers within a given cul-de-sac. So both of those are going on to make it a little easier, particularly at nighttime, which is the real problem, in finding addresses of the various buildings.
And the next MNC meeting is?
The next MNC is the 29th
At?
at 9 a.m.
Okay, thank you very much. We already had the Landscape Committee, so the next would be the report on the traffic hearings. Annette?
Okay, thank you. The July 2017 report on the Traffic Committee, the citations issued in July were 193. The number of no fine citations issued were 24. The number of monetary fines imposed were 169. And the number of fines paid were 26. The number voided or suspended was 20. The amount of folks that attended traffic school was 4. The closed citations were 74, which is good. That was 38% this month for closed citations, which is 16% higher than in June.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next report is from number 14F, is from Bert Baum. It's the report of the Communications Committee.
We did not meet this month, but we've been working on the breeze because that's every month. And I particularly want to thank Director Kane, who's really pitched in and helped us on this. And we want to encourage all the residents to send their comments in about the breeze or any other communication issues. They can write to me or they can write to Catherine Laster and let us know how they feel and what problems they have. Our next meeting is going to be August 28th at 1:30 in the Cypress Room. Everyone is welcome to attend.
Bert, did we start the Garden Villas section of the breeze yet, or is that going to be?
Yes, we did. We have a small section this month, but Lynn is busy going to write us a half page. Let us know what the Garden Villa is doing, and we think that's a great addition. So thank you, Lynn.
Okay, the next committee report is Energy and Technology, and that is Bert Moldow.
A lot going on with energy. There's a lot going on with energy. In fact, so much so that we asked staff to see if they could find a consultant that could help us with some of the work that we're looking at. One major area, for instance, is the energy issue regarding the economy of putting more solar into the community, in particular Gate 14. The reason that it's becoming more and more complex is that the net metering one, which we had gotten for the existing installations, is allowing us to take 100% credit for the energy that we put back into the grid. But net metering 2 is now in effect, and that says only 85%. In addition, by 2019, the way that we are being billed for our electricity is going to change. The power company has showed the Public Utility Commission that the load curve has shifted such that the peak periods no longer are occurring between noon and 6, but rather are shifting to 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 10 o'clock in the evening. And the result of that is that when the peak periods are occurring, we're no longer generating electricity. There's a result being that we're not going to get even more credit. As a matter of fact, the estimate is that we might lose 20% more justification. The way around that is, in addition to considering putting in the solar panels, putting in batteries, so that during the peak periods or during the daylight hours, you can store up that energy and then reduce that peak period load in the evenings from 4 to 10. Well, it's sort of getting a lot more complex than our staff is capable of looking at. And so we said we really need a consultant to look at this. And there are other areas that we would like the consultant to look at. In particular, areas that we might be able to help the residents with their electric bill. So we'd like them to look at the possibility of our installing a microgrid, look at aggregation as an alternative. There are other things that we might be able to do to help the residents. And that's what we're looking at. So again, we're asking this consultant, please tell us, what they see as a potential way in which this community could effectively lower the energy bill, not only of the mutual, but of all residents.
Actually, we had the consultant do a presentation at our meeting.
Yep.
And then we asked them to please come back and do it for all of the boards so that and Brad quickly jumped on that, so that there's somebody consulting about energy for everyone. So thank you, Bert, for getting that going, and thank you, Brad, for keeping that going, because we need the experts to tell us. When is that meeting happening? I always ask the question, and people look at me with like a blank stare. Okay, I think September 1st, actually, but I'm not sure. Okay, anything else on energy?
Oh, yes, oh, yes. Walkway lighting, big issue, particularly in gates 5 and 6. We just find it the lighting is totally inadequate. We are letting a contract with First Energy, who intends to come in, and we have established the fact that, we will have a large contract, but we will only release it on an as-need basis, the money. So the initial contract will basically run to about $3,000. In fact, that's the max that we're providing. And for that $3,000, they propose to come in and map the location of every light on the walkways. And
In 5 and 6 or everywhere? Everywhere?
primarily 5 and 6, okay? And then they will make a recommendation as to how effective the lighting is, and if they see that a better fixture is available to improve the lighting, including going to LED bulbs, we will probably take their recommendations. So this is our beginning attempt at providing better lighting for people in Third Mutual in those areas. And, for instance, it's my opinion, okay, and I've seen the lights before. These lights that we currently have, which are called pagoda lights, are so low that they have no scope with regard to the projection of the light. And I have seen locations, I've gone to them, where they also have pagoda lights. But these lights are up 3 feet. And as a result, the dispersion of the light is so much more and so much better. So these are things that we can consider doing. We may not be able, we may be able to retain the fixture, but just change the mounting for the fixture. Or we may find a better fixture. But our hope is ultimately to provide much better lighting for our walkways in our community and improve the safety. In addition, there are some Garden Villa rec rooms that still do not have exit lights. And so what we're moving is to correct that situation. I think there are about 7 of them. And 8? Okay.
It grew.
It grew. Missed that one. Okay, so there are 8 rec rooms, and that will be rectified.
Okay, is that it?
No, let's see. Oh, this is interesting. And this is something that was not covered, but I will cover it in the subsequent meeting. I'm going to ask staff to look into it. We learned that Lancaster, Pennsylvania, well, not Lancaster, Lancaster, California, has put in EV charging stations on their light poles. Now, we were under the impression that this would not be possible because you could not use the existing circuits based upon SEC rules, okay, to power the EV chargers. And I doubt very much whether Lancaster had pulled additional lines. So ask staff to contact Lancaster to find out exactly what they have done in order to put EV chargers on their light poles, because this would be a great solution for our charging EV cards, and that we would have chargers out on the normal roadway where cars can pull up in that parking spot and charge their cars. Be a great solution.
Okay, so is that it? You're the one who tells me that I have the meeting take too long.
Yes, I know.
All right, we're
Okay.
moving on. If you think it's
The
something,
next
you can
meeting
come
is
back.
October the 3rd, 2017, and that'll probably be in the Sycamore Room.
Okay. So the next is the report of the Water Committee. John? John is doing this for James, who is not here. So John is on the committee.
I have 2 items to report. The first one is with regard to water usage by manor. I have to compliment staff. They assiduously prepare this report on a monthly basis that tells us what the water usage is by manner and whether it is in normal or whether there's Tier 3 and Tier 4 charges. In this particular month, there were 2 that were investigated, and then attaboy to Jules and to James. They go out and they actually read the meters. And one of the manners, they found that while the meter was not leaking, it didn't show any leaks, that was high, and one of the manners was doing extensive watering, and so that's going to be looked into. The other one, the other meter had 8 manners associated with it. The meter was moving, which of course means that there are leaks, or they were able to determine that there were leaks, and that'll also be looked into. The second item that I wanted to discuss is the West System expansion for reclaimed water. And I'm going to give this map to Lori, and it'll be available to any resident that wants to see it, and it will show the laterals and the main lines that will show where the installation for the reclaimed water is going to be. It's in the 110 area, and basically the streets affected are Bahia Blanca West and Sociaga. And all the cul-de-sacs are where the laterals are being put. The Sociaga, it's about 1,000 feet after the Bahia Blanca comes in, after the Bahia Blanca connection comes in, and on each side of and up Bahia Blanca by about 1,000 feet. And the lines being put in are 4-inch and 10-inch lines, the 4-inch being the laterals and the 10-inch being the main lines, and it's going to start in September. I've been advised by Ernesto.
Okay, thank you. Is that it?
That's it, thank you.
The only request that we had, and this is for Brad, is that our water bill was much higher, way much higher, and we had to make sure that staff is controlling the watering schedule because it was really, really high. And we know that it was hot, but we have to be careful. So, and I asked on the television when I did my This Day yesterday that if anybody sees watering done that is not like hitting the lawn, or if a sprinkler is broken, or anything that could be impacting the utilization of our water, they should contact Property Services because that wastes water a lot. I know my car always gets watered, but I've reported it. Okay, so now
Comment on that?
Yes?
I met, Brad, I met with Maggie, and I'm going to meet with Raul. There are some irrigation leaks. I have one in the common area behind my manor, and one of them showed up very high on this report. So we need to look at the irrigation leaks. They dug and fixed in about 2 days the one at my manor.
Wow, so
But-
then that's a whole area, irrigation leaks.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so we really have to, and staff isn't going to know that. That's going to come from the residents, most of it, right?
The leak was found by the mowers and growers.
Oh, so, okay, good. All right, so the last one is the report of the Resident Policy and Compliance Task Force. That is Bert.
I will keep this report very short. We did not have a meeting. This is a task force, so we meet as needed. We will probably have one in September. And the goal here is to get an update on how we stand with the major issues that we've been looking at. And that would be the caretakers and leasing. And I guess the next thing on our agenda is to look at co-occupants. That seems to be a very hazy area, and it really needs to be clarified for everybody's benefit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, for the GRF committee highlights, what we've added, because in the past, if you didn't have a meeting, you reported on the date, but we've eliminated that. So Leslie took the time to add the dates when all of the meetings will be happening, because these are GRF committees, and the reason why we include them is 2 members of our board sit on every GRF committee. So I'm just going to ask for this one, for you to identify yourself as a speaker, if you have a committee that you report on. I'm trying to make this meeting faster. I'm listening to you. Okay, so does anyone have a meeting? So we have a speaker, Bunny, identified. Okay, Bunny.
The only one thing I want to comment, as far as the GRF landscape, is that.
Turn your mic on, please.
Oh, I am so bad at that. Okay. The only thing I wanted to report is that there will be some work being done by Clubhouse 6. They're going to be removing some of the turf and replacing it with ground cover, and this is supposed to start in September.
Okay. Are there any other committees for GRF to report on? No? Okay. So the thing is that we will now give the, we have future agenda items which you do not have to cover. So the basic thing is that this would be the time for any director comments. And if you want to make a comment, please identify yourself as a speaker. Other than, if not, this meeting will be adjourned. Oh, I don't see your name on here, Annette. There's something wrong with her. Oh,
I got it.
Annette, yes.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to comment on the future agenda item, which would be 16C, to entertain a motion to include a requirement for acoustical considerations for all alterations that have adjoining walls. And I'd like to add in there, and I didn't know how to put that in, because when I think of walls, I just think of sideways.
Right.
To add in the floors and the ceilings, the people below and the people above. I think that needs to be mentioned.
Make sure you go to the Architectural Standards Committee.
I'll be there, thank you.
Okay. Yes, Bert?
I just wanted to talk just a little bit about.
It's 12 o'clock.
I will get this done in 1 minute, and you will want to hear this, because I want to compliment our president, who did an outstanding job on putting our budget together for next year. And she worked with Steve Parsons, who has been in and out with some problems, and I think she should be recognized for her effort. And we've been able to keep our assessments low with a very, what we consider minor increase. And I would like to remind our residents that when you pay your assessments, that money not only goes to Third, but it also goes to GRF. So there's a big chunk of that money that goes to GRF, and we don't have very much control over that. And in terms of the increase in the assessment, I think GRF's was about 4.5, and ours was about 3.5. So we're really trying to keep it low, but you have to understand that we want to do more things, and so do you as a resident. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the compliment, and thank you. So please remember, everyone, that the elections are coming up, so get ready to vote. And a lot of our board members are incumbents, so they're running again. But remember to vote, and remember to watch Meet the Candidates on Tuesday. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.